Rayder Hobbs.
Brandon Small, how are you doing today?
Doing good. The first podcast, finally.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We've been talking about this for a little bit now and what we were wanting to do, kind of our goals for 2026. And I think this is going to be a great opportunity, not only for ourselves, but everyone within the industry to kind of tune into things while they're driving around or, just doing stuff on a daily basis, to be able to tune into something where we can talk about stuff within the industry. We can talk to different haulers. We can just talk about maybe issues or problems or where we see the industry going or just interesting things going on in the industry. Me and you are pretty close here to Indianapolis. You're in Anderson, Indiana. I'm in New Palestine, which is only 20 minutes outside of Indianapolis. So we both know what's going on, here in our city, but we can also talk to people all around the country.
Absolutely.
We can see what's going on. So I guess I want to know from you, which I know the story, but I want everyone else to know your story, like your introduction to hauling, to the trash business, like how you got started, and I'll let you take it from there.
Absolutely. So I would say that I got started right out of high school, not even with hauling, but you're not going to have a hauling company if you can't sell. So I didn't go to college or anything like that. I went straight into the workforce. I started working for a nationwide plumbing company, and I quite literally was a door-to-door plumbing salesman. I would do 5 to 6 calls a day, show up, and I'd be there to do a plumbing inspection, and my job was to get you to like me, and then sell you, an upgraded stool or sink or shower or whatever it was that we were carrying. So that kind of taught me to talk to anybody. It made me get used to being told no, being told yes, and just everything else with it. I did that for probably 2 years, from 18 to 20, waiting to be a career fireman. From the time I was a kid, that's what I wanted to do. My dad was a career fireman. My grandfather was a career fireman. I got brothers, uncles. That's what I wanted to do. So at 20, I got my EMT, went to work for an ambulance service, doing 911 calls. And with that, I was only working 11 days a month, 24-hour shifts. So I had a lot of time. And me and my brother started a company building decks and doing bathrooms. We were doing a deck here in Lawrence and had a dump trailer to haul our material around in, and had a lady come over and ask, hey, can I borrow your trailer? And obviously I say absolutely not. And she talks me in to what turned out to be my business model for 3 years, of her saying, well, I don't want to haul it. You just bring it to me. I'll fill it up and I'll call you when we're done. And so I did that, rented it for $350, and that was the last deck we ever built. I went home, got on YouTube, and immediately was like, our guy's doing this. Found this guy on YouTube, Junk Bus, and he had not dump trailers, but just traditional trailers, painted yellow, had the stop sign on them, had the whole shebang. And he had dug a hole in his backyard that a roll-off company would come and deliver a 30-yard into. And that was his transfer station.
Oh my gosh.
He would back those junk buses up, dump them into 30, and take it off. And I thought, man, this guy's a genius.
Mm-hmm.
And so we started marketing the dump trailers. We bought a second one, and started marketing them for that. And as we grew that to 11 trailers, the problem then started to be people keep taking our dump trailers. I would be at the transfer station backing in a trash trailer as I marketed them, and here would come a Salty Dog trash trailer backing in beside me.
Yeah.
And what people were doing is they'd cut my lock off. So they'd rent it for a week for $400, and then that roofer would have a trailer to go do 5 jobs with and everything else.
Mm-hmm.
So I realized, okay, this isn't going to work. So the first, I would say, time we kind of considered getting into the roll-offs, because I completely marketed my company kind of against roll-offs.
Mm-hmm.
We were in these dumpsters on wheels. We were driveway safe. Everything you hear, the negative side of roll-offs.
Right.
And my first roll-off setup would have been a hook truck. So I got an F650 under CDL hook truck and 7 dumpsters. And the first dumpster I ever rented was too heavy for me to pick up. So had to call the big competitor in my area and hey, sir, will you please come out and pick up my dumpster that's too heavy? Luckily at the time, very nice guy. He said, absolutely, I'll come out and grab it for you. My customer had put 17 tons of dirt and concrete in a 20-yard for an F650 to put in.
Oh, yeah.
So he comes out, picks it up, and then I'm like, okay, this isn't working out. I'm going to need to if I'm going to do this, I need to do it.
Yeah.
And at the time, my yard was in Frankton, and I still had all 11 trailers, and I had 5 dumpsters that I had bought off the internet. And Roger Hobbs catches me one day. I'm pulling out as he's pulling in, and says, "Hey, I own a dumpster company. Are you going to be around?" And I said, "Well, I don't even rent the building." I said, "I just rent this tiny little section of parking lot. If you're here when I get back, perfect." And I was gone maybe 2.5 hours, and there he was, still parked when I got back. And he got out and gave me the Mac difference, talked to me about all that kind of stuff, and ended up being a great mentor of mine. Kind of showed me the ropes. He's the one that got me into standard rail, 36-inch standard rail, got me into the big truck, stuff like that, and that's basically how I got started in hauling.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's a great story.
Thank you. Yeah, we've that probably took 3 years to go from that. We ran the trailers for probably a year and a half.
And what year was that, Brandon, that you started running the trailers?
Would have been 2018.
2018.
Yep, I would have got hired at the fire department in 2018. Went through the 6-month fire academy, everything with that came along with that. And then immediately from my dad and grandpa, they were like, "Hey, you're going to have a lot of spare time.
Yeah.
Don't go golfing every day. You're just going to spend all your money. You need to start a business." And my dad had the typical fireman's business of lawnmowers when I was a kid. So he had, his 30 yards and everything. I remember being a kid, he'd pick us up he was at the firehouse, he'd come in and pick us up, throw the bicycles in the lawnmower trailer, and then we'd be going around and doing that. So I felt like I came full circle as he would ride around with me now, going around dropping off these trash trailers, picking them up, doing stuff like that. But I would say we started in 2018 with the 2 trailers, grew that to 11. Saw we needed to make the change, not only for the fact that people were hauling them, but contractors typically don't want a trash trailer.
Right.
They have one. So we kind of skipped, I don't want to say the traditional role, but it seems like more that I see today, people start off trailers under CDL, 15s, 20s, 30s, and then they'll jump into the big stuff.
Yep.
Where that first can rental kind of told me I need to get a big truck. This isn't going to work out. I felt like such a bozo standing in front of my customer with another company's truck picking up my dumpster.
Sure.
So I got into the 30s immediately after that by getting a home building contract. So we were able to start marketing to the home builders in our area. Found that one of them needed a little more catered service than kind of the national companies may want to do. That catered service was, hey, if I have a 30-yard on lot 2 that's only got 1 ton in it, will you come move it over to the other lot? And instead of renting me a whole nother thing, will you just charge me a move fee? And absolutely, I'll do that.
Yeah.
They would want dumpsters dropped not on Fridays, because then all weekend the homeowners in the neighborhood are putting TV boxes and moving stuff in the dumpsters.
Right.
So I would work with them to say, yeah, I'll drop on a Monday or a Tuesday, and if I do pull, it'll be on Thursday or Friday. We'll try to get those out of there before the unwanted waste gets in there.
Yeah.
And that's how we got into it. And then we would have ran with that home builder kind of, I don't want to say home builder exclusive, but I mean 80% of our business was that for probably 2 years.
Wow.
And then that would put us at 2022, so we were coming out of COVID. I had another great uncle in Anderson that had a company called Kennedy Tool and Die, and he was very successful with GM contracts. So he was running 3 shifts, 300 employees, and when GM left, that left. So he kind of beat into my head, do not let one customer be too much of your business.
Sure.
And that was when we had kind of established ourselves as a hauler. We were getting other calls. We weren't so much, having to pay for every single time the phone rang. It would kind of ring organically now.
Yeah.
And that let us kind of start to diversify out of just this one big home builder.
Right.
Home builders can be ruthless, so they're there to make money.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, I'm sure.
But that is my story.
Yeah, that's great.
That's how I got to where we are.
So I do want to ask you too before, and then I'll give my intro. But how many trucks, containers are you up to now from where you started?
So let me think. I would have. We started in 2018, but I wouldn't have started buying containers till 2020.
Right.
And we now we run just over 200 in Anderson. And then I have a sister company in Columbus where we run about 50.
Wow.
So and we've got 5 trucks in Anderson. We have 5 trucks in Anderson now, 200 cans, construction and demolition MRF, 15,000 square feet. We recycle metal, plastics, basically everything a home builder would put in there. Indiana has a initiative of no new landfills after 2035. So most haulers, their biggest expense is their dump bill.
Sure.
So we immediately started to say, okay, how can we alleviate that? And the MRF was the obvious answer.
Yeah, and that's going to help a lot of people in your area, which it already has.
Yes.
So that's awesome. I'm really excited to see where your growth has taken us. I think we've probably been working together because I know you met my grandfather to start, and you were dealing with my grandfather. And then we met, and we've been pretty close, not only work-wise, but outside of work. Trying to take trips together. And
doing a podcast, all sorts of stuff.
Yes, sir. So that's probably been, about 4 years now, probably.
Yes. I would
4 or
say
5 years. Because I remember meeting you with my grandfather, because he's in his 70s now, and he's trying to slow down a little bit. I don't think he'll ever fully get out. Like, this is his business, this is his baby, but he was like, I want you to start meeting some of the guys that, are younger and get familiar and, create those relationships. So I remember meeting you, and we, got along instantly, and we've worked really closely since. So I've appreciated that.
Well, thank you. I have too. Yeah, I've been, obviously I'm a big Mac guy. But it's because it's easy. You guys are just easy to work with. And that's what we look for, right?
I appreciate it. We try to make it easy. We're not trying to make things complicated, but in this business, sometimes things can get complicated. We're not perfect, but we do try to make things right.
Yep.
So kind of talking about how I got started, obviously it's been in my family. So it was kind of, when I was growing up, it was kind of like, okay, he's going to follow the line. Like, he's going to get into the family business. So, Mac's been here 51 years. So I was born in 97, so I wasn't here all that time.
Right.
But then my dad started his compactor rental company. So my grandpa has been in here, 51 years. Then my dad came in here he was in here 10, 15 years.
Okay.
And then he started his company, and then he's been doing that, and that's been extremely successful. And hopefully we'll be able to get him on here and get to talk to him. I don't want to take his thunder because I really appreciate his story. But then for me, I went to Butler University here in town. So I started right out of high school. Yeah, I started right out of high school working here. Now, I was 18 at the time when I started. And I didn't really know, I knew I was coming into the business, but I didn't really know what my role was going to be. I just knew, when you're 18, you've kind of got different goals and things going on than where I am now, where I'm 28. So it's kind of crazy how you make that jump in 10 years. But I knew when I came over and I saw how much was going on here, like how many moving pieces, how many guys it took to get things done. I've always liked the aspect of teamwork and working with people. So I enjoyed that. But my grandpa did not start me out in the office. So I was out in the shop. I was wiring panel boxes and putting together power units. And I was probably the slowest one. me and one of my friends at the time he brought us both in here summer jobs. and we were wiring panel boxes, building power units. And I was way slower than my friend. Like he would probably build 3 or 4 in a week, and I'd be lucky to get 2. Now I would do it right. Like I would make sure I did everything correct and I knew how to wire it, but I was extremely slow. So I was like, well, I don't know if he's going to fire me or not based off of that. Luckily he didn't. He just would laugh when he'd come over and see my progress. But that taught me a lot, and that was kind of something my grandfather instilled in me is, I want you to learn every aspect of the business, and I don't want you to have a silver spoon where, people think you're just going to come in and be a boss. Like if you want to be a part of this business, you need to learn from the ground level, just like my dad had and how he had. So I really appreciate that to this day, that I did that for a few years and I was able to learn that kind of process. But then as, I went through college, was still working here, but just in the summers. And then when I got out of college, that was, right during COVID, it would have been 2020 is when I graduated, which was a little bit of a hectic time. But I came into the office, and my first job really was just shipping and receiving. So all the stuff that came in, all the trucks going out. At that time, I was coordinating all of my dad's freight for his compactor company. So that was a good little stretch there, and I learned a lot about equipment, how much things weighed, dimensions, and it's kind of one of those things where you just learn by doing it. And,
and I guess you don't really think about how much goes into shipping, because I even think about that now, because we're loading trailers now, and it's not as easy as just putting 20 tons in a semi-trailer and calling it good.
Well, yeah, like a lot of times, with this major equipment, you're talking about weights, you're talking about hoppers, you're talking about different options, like containers even. You've got like a light-duty container, heavy-duty, standard. So under CDL trucks where it could be 14, 16-foot containers. And then your big boy stuff where you're running 22-footers. So it was one of those things where in the beginning, you're like, oh yeah, it's just a container, like everything's going to be pretty uniform. No, that's not how it works in this business.
Yes, that is, I would agree with you completely on that. I thought a dumpster was a dumpster is a dumpster. I kind of started to realize, there's actually some engineering that goes involved in this. And then when I got into compactors, you guys have engineers that actually work here. So there's obviously a lot that goes into these.
Yes, it is. It's a very intricate process, the whole industry is. And I don't think until you kind of get into it and start working with that, I don't think you really realize. Like I talk to a lot of startups all the time, and they'll call me and then I'll ask a ton of questions. They'll just say, oh, I want, a 20-yard. And then I'm like, okay, what kind of truck are you getting? Is this going to be a cable or hook lift box? What's the length that you're looking for on these? Or what length can your truck handle? So then people are like, I need to call you back. I need to get some more information. So that's something I run into all the time. But yeah, shipping and receiving for me was a really good intro. And in fact, one of the first things I did that was wrong, even just like logistics, like thinking about timelines and things, because my dad, what he would have me do is say he had a big mall that we were installing 6, 7 compactors in. Well, I had to set up the freight, and I had to get with the installer, make sure everything was going to be coordinated and on time. Well, I had dealt with a lot of local things at first. And then my dad's like, hey, I got them all down in Miami, and I need 8 compactors there. So I know, okay, you can fit 2 containers per truck, so I'm going to have 4 full loads. Well, I was used to everything being one-day transit. And he's like, this has to install on Tuesday. So I realistically needed everything to leave, over the weekend, like Friday over the weekend, because I tried to schedule it for Monday.
For a Miami.
Yeah. And then one of my dad's service techs in the office, she called and she was like, hey, is that load on the way? Like, is it in transit? And I was like, oh no, I called this morning. They're going to pick up here. Yeah, they'll be over there tomorrow. And she's like, Rayder, this is going to Miami. And I was like, oh shoot. So I had to call my dad. I had the talk of shame where I had to tell him, Dad, I completely messed up one of your big installations. You're going to have to push it back a day. And he was mad. He was not happy, but it was a learning lesson for me. And he even told me at the time, this is going to be a learning lesson. So I will say I never made that mistake again.
Right.
So that was a good intro for me to kind of learn things. And then as I went through, 2021, 2022, I started looking at like how all of the independents were starting up in the business, because
Mm-hmm.
a lot of what we were doing was, everything was standard rail as far as compactors, containers. I started looking into the 60-inch rail systems, the Horizon, the Max Ds, the PJs.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, why aren't we doing this? And my grandpa was like, well, you can do it. We can do this, but if you mess up, it's all on you.
It's on you, right?
So what I did was I rented some containers, brought them in, got the measurements all off of them, and then we kind of just reverse engineered it and built. I thought about like what I wanted on our can that I didn't necessarily like on theirs,
Right.
and what I thought the consumer would like, and then we came up with those boxes and started selling those. And then I've been full-time sales now 3 years, so I've learned a lot, and I get to work with a lot of good people such as yourself.
Yeah.
So
well, and two,
been
that's the. I mean, I think you kind of hit it perfect there by saying not for my company. I needed the heavier stuff because of what we were hauling, but you're exactly right. For the whole time, I was really up until we got that home building contract. My company average was less than 2 tons for every dumpster we had, and that made. That makes a big difference when you're looking at, okay, am I going to go under CDL or over CDL? Under CDL, you're probably paying $20-21 an hour, around that in our area for a driver. CDL drivers, I mean, they can get into the 30s pretty easy.
yes, sir.
So there's a lot of things to think about when you are choosing those cans.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
you are spot on with that. When I first came here, the one thing I thought was amazing is I don't want to say the organized chaos, but that's kind of what it is. If anybody's ever been to Mac here, how many dumpsters are you guys building a week?
So right now we're building around. Now we work Saturday, but it's like a half day on Saturday. So we're building around 20 boxes a day, give or take. So it could be some, depending on if we're building receiver boxes, it could take out 3 or 4 containers. We could hit 16, but I would say roughly around 90 boxes a week.
Now, does that include compactors?
No.
That's its whole another.
It's just
whole other
so
thing.
Stationary, self-contained compactors. We're probably building around 9 to 10 of each every single week as well. So
Okay.
So across this facility here and our refurbished facility down the street where we're refurbing compactors, we've got about 150 employees across two different locations.
And 2 shifts or 3?
So we have 2 shifts. They're long shifts.
Okay,
But
2 12s.
We work 20. Pretty much work 24/6.
Yeah.
So we don't work on Sundays. Again, now they're mainly on Saturdays, just setting stuff up,
Getting ready for the next week.
Yes, they're setting things up for the next week, but they are finishing out, the 8 or 9 containers left over from Thursday, Friday. So that's kind of how the operation works. And then, we've got 5 semis, well, 6, so 1 backup, 5 full-time drivers, and then we have a roll-off truck as well that we use for just local deliveries, installations, all that good stuff.
And then, like, I come here and get my stuff.
Yep.
So people can come here and pick it up as well.
Yep.
Yep. The other thing that I thought was very neat here is, I don't want to say the assembly process, but the assembly process. Are you guys only custom made to order, or is it, hey, I'm making 40 dumpsters I'm sorry, I can't remember the number you said.
90.
90, no matter what.
Yeah, so that's a great question. So that's the one thing that I think I'm really impressed about is like everything's different. So we build everything to order.
Okay.
So now there could be an instance like right now we have like a few stock cans because it's January, and then we'll have somebody come over and those will
snag them up.
Yeah, as it gets busier into the spring and summer. But yeah, everything here is custom order. So we're building everything from scratch based off of the order. So to be able to do 90 boxes based on that when things are changing, as far as like what we're fabbing on the shears and the press brakes, I'm really happy about that.
Yeah.
And yeah, we got some really good guys out there that are putting in some work. So
Heck yeah. So full-time sales.
Yep.
For 3 years.
Yes, sir.
And I know that you do a heck of a lot more than that.
Yeah.
So, kind of walk me through your refurb. That's something I'm super interested in, just because I mean, obviously, if you come here, you see all the cans sitting around.
Mm-hmm.
And How long of a process is that to take a dumpster from, or I'm sorry, a compactor from, not working, pretty rusty, to okay, back in service?
Yeah, that's a good question. And that is all dependent on the equipment. Like if it's, let me just put some examples so I kind of simplify it a little bit because it is pretty intricate with compactors. But say we have like a Mac unit that's in fairly decent shape. Like we grade all of our compactors, so it could be, an A grade, B, C, or if it's worse than C, that's kind of how we categorize everything. And actually my dad's company actually helped us with that, and they kind of have a process about how they grade. But if you have a compactor that's like an A, like it's in pretty good shape, and if it's a Mac unit, we can get it done in 3 days. So we can get it turned around pretty quick. We'll replate whatever we need to replate if that's even necessary. Right. If it's an A, it probably doesn't need any replating. Usually what we're going to do is we're going to change we're going to look at cylinders if we need to repack or change anything. And then we're going to look at, I already mentioned we'd look at like replating things if necessary. But if not, we're just going to change the hoses, and we're just going to run the power unit, make sure everything works properly, and then we'll get it painted and we'll get it sent out the door. Yeah. So usually it's a pretty quick turnaround if it's in fairly good shape. Now, if you've got something that's like, say we've got a JV unit that's from 2001 and the body's in good shape, but pretty much everything else is in bad shape, you may need a new power unit. You may need to counterfeit new cylinders to make sure it'll work in conjunction with the machine. So that kind of a process could take, if we have to repack cylinders,
right,
that could take 2 weeks. So it just depends upon what you're doing, what hopper options you're adding. But I would say we're not looking to do anything longer than 2 weeks if we can help it.
Right.
So,
the other big thing I use for you guys all the time is your mobile service. Is that just here in Indianapolis? Is it everywhere?
As far as like our service guys?
Yes.
Okay. So service guys, we serve within like a 250-mile radius of Indianapolis. Now, if there's like a special circumstance or an emergency, we may, go outside of those parameters. But usually I'd like to keep my guys in that bubble because, we've just got installs going on every day. We've got service on compactors. If we have, a container that's missing some locks on it, we may have service on a container. And then once we get outside of that radius, we'll sub it out.
Okay.
So that's kind of how we do that. Now, as far as containers goes, if we have any issues with anything, I'll get, outside of the 250-mile radius, I'll get with, the customer, and we'll come up with some sort of a solution. Not saying that doesn't happen, because It does. We try to avoid it, but, it does happen. But yeah, anything within 250 miles, I usually can just send one of our guys and get it taken care of, which is nice. It's something I'm glad we can offer. That's one thing that, being a container, like a roll-off manufacturer, it is nice having those guys that work on compactors that can do, any kind of mobile repair like you mentioned, because, we can service pretty quickly.
Oh, yeah.
So that is nice.
I completely agree. So what are we calling ourselves?
This is going to be the Talking Trash Podcast.
I love it. Calling it the Talking Trash Podcast is, I think it's funny. I'm a pretty big smartass in my personal life. So it's funny that I think we're calling it Talking Trash while we're trying to not do that, right?
Yeah.
We're trying to I don't want to say give advice, but really be a place for opinions. To say, hey, here's how I did it. Not saying it's the perfect way, but it's a way. And then talking to 100 different people and finding out their ways.
I agree completely. It's like a play on words. Obviously, we're in the waste industry, the trash business. And this is going to be a positive podcast. We're not going to sit here and slander people all day. But yeah, like bringing in unique perspectives and having people that are doing things different ways, because someone may have a niche market in the hauling side that works for them that may not work for you or for someone in our area. So I think bringing in those different niche markets and bringing in a lot of different people in the compactor business, such as my dad, or bringing in different haulers, people who have, grown huge businesses, some people who are in a startup that are learning, the ins and outs right now.
Right.
Like, we can get people past, present, future who are going through all sorts of different situations in their personal lives, businesses. So I think that'll be really cool to introduce on this podcast. So
I completely agree.
That'll be something to touch on.
What are your goals for the podcast?
Yeah, so what I was thinking and kind of what we had discussed a little bit, we're definitely going to have some guests on here, definitely just different people within the industry, not just haulers, but definitely going to have independent haulers in here telling their success stories about how they got started in the business, where they started, because I always think those are great and interesting stories, especially for entrepreneurs to hear. And then we're also going to discuss, where the industry is headed, like what's going on within the industry, kind of talk about, different, like what's going on in our worlds, offer some unique perspectives. I'm on the manufacturing side and I work with the manufacturing business every day. You're working on the hauling side. So we're going to have a non-biased, view, because we're going to have different perspectives on everything.
Yes.
And we don't always agree on everything. I know we get along, but
right.
There is going to be things that, we could challenge each other and kind of think about different viewpoints from, that perspective. So
I completely agree. Yeah. Some things I want to hit on is, how did I pay for my first cans? That seems to be the most common question I get. How many did you get? Did you get the big truck first? Did you get the small truck? I mean, obviously everybody knows I got the small one first and kind of shot myself in the foot. But kind of go through that whole story of it. How I financed them, how I got the Murph, and just kind of how I walked through it. But you're exactly right. We both have a lot of mutual friends that have been executives at billion-dollar companies, that have been founders of multi-million-dollar companies, and are currently starting, $10,000 companies. And my goal for that is to, get everybody's perspective. Because, something I absolutely will say is just because you're the biggest guy in the industry doesn't necessarily mean you have all the answers.
Right.
I had a lot of people tell me that I should not be opening a Murph. I need to just do a transfer station. That's something I'll die on that hill. Transfer stations are a thing of the past. They're in my opinion. Just because there's too much valuable stuff in the trash these days. I mean, people will be amazed of what we're pulling out at our Murph that people are throwing away.
Yeah.
And also, fads in the industry, things that maybe we've just in the time that we've been in it, we've seen come and go. As a hauler, I know that my nicer cities are, and this is what I would consider a fad, really want to talk about every roll-off container that gets dropped there has to have a lid on it. Obviously, that would be a massive change for us.
Yeah.
So stuff like that, and talk to people from out of state too. Hey, what's going on in Miami? What's going on in Las Vegas? I know you did the event for Mac's 50th at the Waste Expo at, remind me again what that was, Dumpsters in the Desert, right?
Yeah, so we had our 50th here,
right.
And then I also did the event. I went to the Waste Expo out with my grandfather, and then we did a podcast out there with John Cook, and then we were a part of his event, Dumpsters in the Desert out there. But I think you're exactly right about, like, it's interesting what's going on in different regions, like, just short and sweet. But right now, what's going on in Arizona. I've got 2 haulers out there. Well, right now is a great time for them because it's not so hot. In the summers, it gets brutal over there. So this is actually their busy season. So it's interesting how here, it's freezing cold. We're in a slow season. So, but somewhere like Arizona, my guys are slammed.
Right.
So, having different, regions, different environments.
Yeah, environments that don't get slow.
Yeah.
Or, the UP. It's cold there a lot. So that would be an interesting take. So plan on doing once a month, different guests every month.
Yep.
A wide range, obviously, from the just getting my feet wet to the You know, I've been swimming for years. Um, uh,
Yeah, so I mean, haulers, like you said, like the startups to established haulers, we can have as guests on this show. We'll have people, within the industry, but in different sectors. Like, obviously, I want to have my dad on here and, explain his story about how he got into the compactor rental business and how that industry is growing. And then we can also get into people like we were talking about that are connected to the trash business,
Yes.
but in maybe doing something completely different.
yeah, one of somebody I'd love to have on is my partner, Phil Lucas, bank president, long time. Taught me that just going to the bank and asking for a loan is not the way to do it. There's multiple things you can do to help your credit, make yourself appear very attractive to a bank. And banks love the hauling industry. It's the equipment holds its value. It's a very pretty straightforward industry. So that's something I would love to get in about. Hey, I need $10,000. How can I do it? Or I need $1 million.
Mm-hmm.
How can I do it?
And that's great. And I think helping people budget, because a lot of people don't understand even where to start. So we can even offer advice to people who are just maybe not necessarily all the way in on even starting in this industry, but maybe thinking about it and what it would take.
Oh yeah.
And he could offer that kind of perspective.
Well, and that's where, money was not my strong suit growing up. When I turned 18, I thought my bill was due when they called me. So, that was something that when I got him as a partner, it was you need to clean up your credit. What are you doing? I wasn't, getting stuff repossessed, but it just wasn't something I was taught. It wasn't something I learned in school. I didn't go to college. And this industry is pretty blue collar to say. I don't think everybody's going to be quite have their head in the sand like I did with it, but there was just little things I did in the beginning that raised my credit score 100 points in 5 months.
Absolutely.
All right, man. First one done under our belt. Hopefully, we'll get less awkward and everything else. I know when me and you were just sitting around drinking beers, we're a lot more relaxed. So I'm sure we'll get there. But our producer's gonna put something somewhere telling us where you could find us. I know we're gonna be on YouTube, Apple, Spotify, anywhere you could find it. Salty Dogs Facebook page, Mac's Facebook page, it'll be shared there.
Yep.
Just look for us wherever you can.
Yeah. Thank you for watching.
Thanks.